Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. If you're new to the channel, thanks for tuning in, and if you're not, thanks for returning. I appreciate it. Last time I looked at some books that feature Elvis in 1971, and this time I'd like to take a little look at some of the releases of the recordings that took place in 71 and also the live dates in 71. So let's start at Nashville Studio B. Elvis finds himself back in the recording studio as he had done in 1970, but what was different this time, for a start, 1970, known as the Nashville Marathon for good reason, recordings took place over 5 nights. This time Elvis is in the recording studios in March, May and June, so split over a 3-month period, different nights on each of those months. Also significant about 71, Elvis had recorded in Nashville in Studio B right from the start of his career with RCA. So January the 10th, 1956 was the first time he'd recorded in Nashville. But actually 1971 was the last time he'd recorded in Nashville. This was the last time he'd ever set foot in those studios to make a recording. RCA had an agenda this time around. They wanted him to record enough material for what was termed a pop album, a gospel album, and also they wanted a second Christmas album, as his first had been in 1957, and I guess they thought it was about time he put out a Christmas record. So that was RCA's agenda, and it's important to kind of put a filter of the time on Elvis's recording sessions, because it's very easy to put a contemporary lens on things and think of artists and bands that will go into a recording studio with a specific goal to just record an album. Whereas Elvis, once the movie soundtracks were completed, the recording sessions were sort of treated as a go in, record everything you can, and we'll divvy it out over 2, 3, however many albums we can fit it on. So there really was a sense that he would go in and when the mood took him, he'd just basically record as many tracks as he possibly could to give the Colonel that buffer to do with the contract for RCA and how many albums a year they demanded. So it wasn't often, I don't think, that Elvis entered those studios with a view to making a specific album. It was just, as the mood took him, record whatever he wanted. But in this sense, I think he had a real, if you look at the material, what was termed pop material, he was trying really for basically contemporary folk songs in the main. So I think he did kind of have a vision to make an album that was a little bit different to what had gone before it. Maybe if you look at Elvis Country, with its almost theme of contemporary country, of the country music of the time, this is kind of the album that kind of never was, because the material was divvied up over a number of albums from this session. But if it had been a pure album, it kind of would have been a contemporary folk companion to Elvis Country in a way. But yeah, eventually we see the material that's recorded at these sessions split over basically 4 albums. So towards the end of 71, you get the Christmas album, Elvis Sings the Wonderful World of Christmas. In 72, you get the gospel album He Touched Me, and then the remaining material split out against sort of 72's Elvis Now, and it even ends up as far as 73 on the Elvis or Fool album, as it came to be known. So yeah, they're significant in a number of different ways, significantly different to what took place in 1970, I think. The other significant difference, you've got the same set of musicians that you had in 1970, but drummer Jerry Carrigan is no longer present at these sessions, and we've got Henry Buttrey instead. Also present at these recording sessions are backing vocalists, which wasn't the case in 1970. They were added as overdubs later. Whereas at the March session this time, you have, let me just check on this, the Nashville edition, and then for the following sessions in May and June, you've got the Imperials. So you've actually got the backup singers in the studio recording with Elvis, which you didn't have in 1970. So quite a difference there. I think in all honesty, for me, you know, these sessions, although they produce some brilliant material, things like I'm Leaving, We Can Make the Morning, It's Only Love, Early Morning Rain, produce some great tracks, but you know, I think I said before, for me, they don't quite scale the heights of what took place in 1970. And I think for me as well, it's the first time ever that, you know, for an Elvis track for me, usually when he takes on someone else's song, he usually betters it. That pretty much holds true 99.9% of the time for me. But I don't think his attempt at Roberta Flack's First Time Ever I Saw Your Face does top her version. I don't think he quite gets under the skin of it. You know, they tried it as a duet with Ginger Halliday, they tried it as a duet with Temple Riser, and they tried it solo with Elvis. And I don't think he ever really got quite under the skin of that. Not that there's anything wrong with his version, but I don't think it tops the original, which is a rarity for Elvis. So let's look at what happened a couple of years ago when RCA gave us, for the 50th anniversary, they gave us the Back in Nashville set. So this followed a similar pattern to what happened, I think, the year 2 years before, when they really, I think it was the year before actually, when they released From Elvis in Nashville. So Matt Ross Spang has taken the original master tapes, stripped them back, stripped out all the overdubs, and you get the purity of Elvis in the studio with his band without all the overdubs that were later added. Is this as successful as From Elvis in Nashville? For me, I don't think so. By and large, they do leave the backing singers that were in the studio on tracks, apart from when I think there's a desire to really strip it back, and I guess in the remixing process they didn't think that necessarily the backing vocals added anything, so they actually take them out. There's a couple of tracks on this, I can't think of them off the top of my head, but there's a couple, if you listen on your headphones to get a real sense of clarity about the recording, you can kind of hear little bits where the backing vocals are pushed right into the background, and unless you had headphones on you wouldn't see them. But yeah, it's a strange choice that they were there in the studio. If you're going to create Elvis in the raw with the musicians that were in the studio with him, I'm not sure why you'd always want to strip. As I say, some of the tracks, the backing vocalists are still very present on this, but they're not on every track, and you can hear that they've been removed on some, which is not a decision I'd have made, but it's still a great listen, don't get me wrong, this is fantastic. If you just look at it in isolation, it is superb. As I say, I just don't think it's quite as strong as From Elvis in Nashville, but that probably says a lot about the strength of the material, and as I said, I don't think that's quite reaching the heights in 71 that he reached in 70, but nevertheless, important sessions, and some great material produced, without question. So there's your track listing across the 4 CDs that you get here. It was an interesting bit of blurb that they put out though when they released this, because they actually tried to tell you that these recordings represent some of the most compelling of Elvis's career. I think that's overstating the point a little bit. I don't think that's the case, but I'm not doing them down. There's still some great material on these. This box set has been shown on various channels, but I'll just give you a little look in case you haven't seen it anywhere. So very similar sort of design and layout to the From Elvis in Nashville, except there you got brown, here you got a blue theme. But get your tape boxes, get your CDs nicely tucked in. So nice little package, lovely high quality booklet. So Elvis at the JC's. Another top quality release. These box sets really are very well done indeed. great amount of information and photographs. So yeah, no complaints from me at all, and I say no complaints about this session. These sessions, I suppose. Some great materials produced, but I think it's always important to look at things in their context and sort of try and, if you can, compare and contrast them with what went before. So there you go. There's your, if you see, I guess on the previous page we had the Christmas album somewhere. Maybe we didn't. I thought we did see it. There we go. So you've got your Christmas album, and then it shows you the other 3 albums somewhere that the material from these sessions ended up appearing on. So yeah, great little booklet, all the track information. Good stuff. And then as a companion to that, we had the vinyl. So obviously very similar artwork, and you get sort of selected tracks that you get on the box set. Beautifully put together. And then you get some of the information that was in the booklet on the actual inner sleeves. So really nicely done, and a nice companion piece. There's the second disc, some of that information on, and some of the photos. So yeah, really nice companion piece to the CD set. So yeah, as we're talking vinyl, let's talk about what actually got released here in the UK in 1971. So the material from the 70 Nashville sessions ended up being released across 71 in the UK. So that's the way it is. Elvis Country and Love Letters from Elvis, we saw those in 1971. What we also saw in 1971 was the Camden release, You'll Never Walk Alone. We saw a reissue of Elvis Golden Records Volume 2 with, I think you'll agree, one of the greatest covers ever. I think that's absolutely brilliant. So we got a re-release of Golden Records Volume 2. We got another Camden Stroke International in the shape of Come On Everybody, the different cover to the US. And last but not least, in the UK in 71, we did actually get some of the material from the 1971 sessions, and we got the wonderful Elvis Sings The Wonderful World of Christmas. This is the original cover, but this is not an original press. This is a repress that came out last year. So yeah, quite a lot of releases actually saw the light of day in the UK in 1971. But yeah, significant, very significant. The last time Elvis had recorded in Nashville, and actually, although it was across 3 different months, the sessions that took place, 42 masters were produced in total, which actually tops the Nashville Marathon in terms of number of masters recorded. However, of course, that was done just across 5 nights, so yeah, not quite the frenetic pace that took place there. Right, so that's it for studio recordings in terms of what I've got in my collection. But I would like to share a couple of live releases. This is the ever reliable MRS Memphis Recording Service. This is a release they put out a while back called Las Vegas International presents Elvis Now 1971. And this is a absolutely brilliant 4 CD set. And I've said before about MRS, the way that you can pick them up from mainstream dealers, mainstream anywhere like Amazon or whatever, at pocket-friendly prices, beautiful presentation. And quite often you're getting stuff that FTD put out at a fraction of the price. So the material that's on here, there was a 3 CD box set, Las Vegas 1971, that FTD put out. And there was a single disc in the early part of the FTD life cycle called, is it Impossible Dream? I think it was called The Impossible Dream. All the shows that are on those 3 CD box set and the single CD are all here. They're all here in fantastic sound quality. So, you know, for easy accessibility and a great little package, can't go far wrong with this. Usual MRS quality. So we get opening show 26th of January 71, that was only partially recorded. We get the midnight show 27th of January 1971, partially recorded. We get dinner show 28th of January 1971, partially recorded. We get the full 28th of January 1971 midnight show. We get the full 29th of January 1971 dinner show. And we get the closing show 23rd February 71, and that one was partially recorded. So I'll show you the track list. What's interesting about the full shows that are here is Elvis nearly always finished his live shows with Can't Help Falling in Love. But during this season, he's finishing some of them with The Impossible Dream, which I think was quite significant in itself. So there's your track listing on CD1 and CD2. And there we have CD3 and CD4. So just a great little package gathering together bits and pieces of shows that are available in fantastic sound quality. As is usual with MRS, great booklet. Lots of ephemera, I guess you'd call it. Photographs. Text, jumpsuit. That's a rare jumpsuit with the little sort of chain arrangements hanging down on it. It wasn't worn very often at all. Just an absolute bargain. This absolute bargain. Got a nice little record of Elvis in Vegas in 71. This should be your go-to, especially if you don't want to pay a fortune for it, because it's really, really nice. There's the Elvis Now cover. Brilliant. And there's the He Touched Me album cover. Great stuff. Highly recommend this one. MRS, can't go wrong. Now, 2 of the shows on that release also came out on this beauty. So this is Showroom Internationale 1971. This, in terms of quality, ups the ante again, really, for a bootleg. I said before, I like a bootleg that goes the extra mile, and this one certainly does. I'm not sure what the label is. It sort of pitches itself as the International with the International Hotel logo, but pretty sure it's nothing to do with the International or whatsoever. But you get a beautiful, beautiful package on this. I think the book weighs in at just 92 pages. So beautiful hardback book. The discs sit there at the back, and yeah, this gives you the 28th of January midnight show and the 23rd of February dinner show, which are on the MRS one, but you know, I wanted this particular release just because the packaging was so gorgeously done. Just brilliant, brilliant. This can still be picked up. It does come up from time to time. I think it tends to go for the sort of anything upwards of the £70–80 mark these days, I think. But well worth it to have in your collection because it's beautifully put together. Now, you know, I know I pick up something like this and I end up getting the same shows that I've already got, but you know, we do that a lot, don't we, as Elvis fans? If the packaging justifies it, which to me this one does in spades, then yeah, just fantastic. I'm going to show you most of this one. In fact, I might well show you all of it, simply because I just think it's so nicely done. Such a glorious record of these shows and this almost forgotten year in some senses of Elvis's career. There's Tejo and the old gorilla mask, which apparently in that one with the conch show he's singing "You've Lost That Loving Feeling" with the gorilla mask on. So I found out after I recorded my last episode. So you've lost that loving feeling with a gorilla mask. Interesting stuff, isn't it? There we go. Elvis Now suit. The Elvis Now suit. Beautiful, beautiful package. Got the jumpsuits, Cisco kid suit. Details of that. Rarely see it from the back in photographs. Fabulous. Really like this one. So well done. And there we go. Showroom Internationale 71. And the last 71 recording that I have in my collection is back to the Memphis Recording Service. And this is the November the 10th, 1971 Elvis at the Boston Garden. This is a beautiful package. Almost goes without saying for MRS, but I really like the way that they've put this together. Like they basically, a lot of the design pulls out the details from Elvis's jumpsuit at this show. The sound quality on the disc is fantastic. Usual MRS have remixed it. Look, the disc itself even reflects the design of the jumpsuit. So really like the way they've done this one. Just beautiful graphic design. Slightly smaller package than some of them, but then it's a single disc, so they tend to only give you really chunky booklets when they've got multiple disc sets. But this is a beautiful one to pick up, just so nicely done. It really is a quality release. Just think the graphic design is beautiful. Did I give you a track listing anywhere? I don't think I did. There you go, there's your track listing for that one. The Boston Garden Show has been put out by an FTD have done a release on it. Various bootleg companies have done it. I think there's a book set that actually has the CD with it as well. But this is a great little go-to. Elvis like a black tornado. live at the Boston Garden, 1971. Highly recommend this one. Absolutely brilliant. So 1971 is a little bit of a sparse area in terms of releases for me. I don't have that much. I've just basically shown you everything I've got. But, you know, like I've tried to kind of point towards, is that in some ways it's a bit of an overlooked year, but it shouldn't be. You know, a lot of significant things happen. Elvis is back in Vegas again. He's messing around and trying to play with his set, I suppose, bring new things in. He's finishing with the Impossible Dream. It's not just rinse and repeat for him. I don't think it certainly wasn't at this stage. Maybe when we get a little bit later on, he becomes a little more disenchanted with it all, and it does become a bit more of a routine. But not by 71. He's still in peak form in 71. He's back in Nashville. He's trying new things there. He's trying to bring in some contemporary folk songs and inject a different feeling in his recordings. He opens in Sahara Tejo for the first time. Yeah, it shouldn't be a forgotten year. But if you look at any book in context, it's not given as much attention of the years that surround it. But yep, it's still a very, very, very important year in Elvis's career, and some fantastic material is produced both live and in the studio, so it shouldn't be overlooked in any way, shape or form. So that's 1971 in terms of what I have in my collection. Thank you so much for watching. It is very much appreciated. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share and all that good stuff, because it really does help the channel immensely. I upload new material every Sunday at 6 p.m. GMT, so you're always going to know when to find me. Next time we'll move on and look at 1972 and what took place in that momentous year in Elvis's career. Till then, take care. Ta-da!
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.